Hello and welcome to another Spider-Man class. Today we're going to do a villain that's gaining a lot of notoriety lately, and he is Sandman. So stick around, enjoy the class. Now, as we always do in order to start off this class, and to start off any Spider-Man villain class, we've got to start with an origin. The Sandman's origin comes in the very early issue of Amazing Spider-Man, which is Amazing Spider-Man number 4. This issue, we are first introduced to the man called Flint Marko. Now, just to clear up some confusion right away, some people say Sandman's Flint Marko, some people say Sandman is William Baker. In reality, the Sandman's real name, although we'll only learn this later on, is William Baker, but he goes under the alias as a criminal. So, in Amazing Spider-Man number 4, we get the origin of the Sandman, which he's basically just a normal criminal, this Flint Marko individual. He's been arrested, he's in prison, and then what happens is he escapes from prison, and when he escapes through some sewer drainage tunnels. And in order to find a safe place to hide, he finds a place lower down south on a beach. So basically he's hiding out on a beach. What he doesn't know is that on this beach is actually a government military, if you will, testing site. So what happens is one day on the beach there is a nuclear explosion and he is irradiated. And what happens is the molecules of sand and his molecules merge into one. In Amazing number 4, Sandman goes on a rampage of committing crime and robberies and whatnot. Spider-Man tries to stop him, but quickly learns that there's nothing that he can really do against him. Tries to punch him, the fist goes through him, because he's all made of sand. He tries to trap him in a webbing, and he'll turn to sand and leak out of the pores of the web and reform after. Kind of like the Terminator from Terminator 2, if you will. Like the T-1000. So evidently Spider-Man has his work cut out for him, as he doesn't know how he's going to defeat the Sandman. Naturally, you got to take into account this comic is from the very early 60s, and when Sandman is finally defeated by Spider-Man, it's kind of funny the way he is. What happens is there's a fight inside of Peter Parker's high school, as the Sandman tries to hide out there from the cops, and Peter gets into Spider-Man gear, starts fighting the Sandman within the confines of the high school. So finally they reach a place where there is a device that Spider-Man uses in order to defeat the Sandman. And what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to show you kind of what Spider-Man did in order to defeat him. So take a look at this. Alright, so this is Sandman. And this is what Spider-Man did. So, as funny as that seems, that's how it went down. Spider-Man kind of forced Sandman to turn into sand while fighting him, and when he did, he turned on the school janitor's vacuum cleaner and sucked him in, basically. So, kind of funny, you know, I mean, keep in mind we're in the 60s here, so naturally Spider-Man will have to defeat Sandman a little more elaborately in the future, but first time around, he beats him with a vacuum cleaner. Interesting note in this issue as well, nothing to do really with Sandman, but something else that's really interesting. It's also the first appearance of Betty Brant. And for those of you who do know who she is, she's a secretary of J. Jonah Jameson, and she's also one of Peter's many love interests during the series. And this is her first appearance. Also, later on, she will marry Ned Leeds, which is kind of ironic because Ned Leeds' first appearance is actually in another Amazing Spider-Man issue, which happens to be Sandman's second appearance. So Sandman's first appearance, we get to see Betty Brant for the first time. Sandman's second appearance, we'll get to see Betty Brant's future husband, Ned Leeds. and everybody knows, well, some of you know what happens to Ned Leeds later on. I'm not going to ruin it for a future Spider-Man 101 class, so hint, hint, if you know what I'm talking about and what's going to come up later. Sandman will go on to basically inspect both avenues of life. He'll be a good guy and he'll be a bad guy. He'll be a bad guy more times than not, but he'll also go to good eventually. He'll be in a Sinister Six, he'll be in a Fearsome Four, he'll be in all kinds of subgroups as an evil individual. Later on, he'll repent what he did, and he'll try to do good. He'll help out the Fantastic Four. He even becomes a reserve member of the Avengers. Actually, in Amazing Spider-Man number 303, you'll see that the Sandman is hired by Silver Sable and helps Spider-Man out. So Spider-Man and Sandman team up in order to take down some mobsters, which is kind of cool. I mean, you know, you got to see both venues. Later on, naturally, Sandman will go back to evil and will stay evil. If you're not overly familiar with the character, I mean a Flint Marko Sandman, a lot of the books that are coming out right now from Marvel and Spider-Man actually have Flint Marko in it. I mean, if you look at this, Spider-Man Family issues, these are actually nice to read if you're a new Marvel reader or a new Spider-Man reader, because you get the new stuff and you get some old stuff. Because a lot of these, I think what 2 issues in these, or 3 parts of this issue actually are repaints of old stories. And right now, because of the movie, most of the reprints of the old stories are either of the Green Goblin, Sandman, or Venom. So it's a nice read. I mean, you know, if you don't want to go back and pay big bucks for back issues, it's a good way to get, you know, a little fix. Sandman is returned in Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, as you can see here. This is actually a really interesting storyline right now that involves the Sandman. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but all that I can say is if you want to read something a little different, and you want to get a little bit of Sandman in there, get to know the guy a bit, not a bad way to go. So, overall, Sandman is one of Spider-Man's oldest villains. The only villains that are older than him are the Vulture, Chameleon, and Dr. Octopus. So, he's number 4 in Amazing Spider-Man, and he's the 4th major villain introduced in the Spider-Man series. Great to look at. I think he's going to look good on screen. I mean, he never really had a huge career in the Spider-Verse. He wasn't one of those top-tier villains. He was close to the top, but he wouldn't be like, he's not Green Goblin. He's not Dr. Octopus. He's not Venom. He's a little bit lower than that, but still definitely towards the top. So I hope you've enjoyed the review, and I look forward to seeing Flint Marko in this summer's epic blockbuster. So take care, guys, and please leave a comment, leave feedback, do whatever you got to do. Post any suggestions for future 101 classes. So until next time, take care.
Because I can see us holding hands, walking on the beach, our toes in the sand. I can see us on the countryside, sitting on the grassland side by side. You could be my baby, let me make you my